WisconsinEye's Campaign 2024 programming is sponsored by Wisconsin Counties Association, Nicolet National Bank, Wisconsin Hospital Association, Operating Engineers Local 139, the Wisconsin Realtors Association, the Wisconsin Laborers District Council, and North Central State's Regional Council of Carpenters. To support programs like this, please consider a tax-deductible donation at wiseye.org/donate or by texting WisEye to 44321.
Senator Dan Feyen of Fond du Lac is a Republican candidate for the 20th Senate District. The election is November 5th. Senator Feyen, welcome to WisconsinEye.
Well, thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for participating in our candidate interview. What is your campaign's key message and why are you running for re-election to the Senate?
First, why I'm running for the election to the Senate. I've been elected for the last 8 years and look forward to going back to Madison because there's still more work to be done. I like to focus on tax cuts, and I have a sign on my desk that says smaller, smarter government. So when I'm out knocking on doors within the new district, that is the focus of we want to get us more tax cuts to the people of Wisconsin. We have a surplus sitting in Madison. It's not the place it should be. It should be back in your pockets. The other thing I keep hearing about is crime issues. So we got to make sure we keep supporting our law enforcement, our DAs, and all those people in that field.
So if you are reelected to the Senate, what's an example of a bill that you would prioritize introducing?
First and foremost would be tax cut. We've got to figure out a way to get Governor Evers to agree to a tax cut. In this last session, we proposed many different tax cuts. One of the ones I thought he'd sign for sure was if you're retired and you make up to $150,000 as a married couple, your taxes would be zero. He vetoed that. And I think that's one that we need to get across the finish line. And, we need to cut taxes across the board, but that one's a no-brainer to me because that keeps people from leaving this state when they retire and taking their wealth to another area. And keeping people in Wisconsin is what creates a better economy.
You mentioned that budget surplus projected to be over $3 billion, and a priority for you is to provide a tax cut of some kind.
Correct.
Do you have another priority or any other priorities for that?
I mean, that's the biggest priority, but we also need to make sure we invest in our infrastructure throughout the state, which we've done. I'm proud of the fact that every budget we've done, we've been able to cut taxes while still investing in our priorities throughout the state, such as roads, education as well. Education is going to be a big one coming up. There's always a need, but we got to figure out what the true need is. We keep putting money into education, but our results don't keep going up. And in business, you need to see results, and we're at the point where we need to start seeing some real results.
So K-12 education, clearly a priority for many voters. So when you look at that line item in the budget, how would you prioritize K-12 funding differently?
Well, I always say we need to make sure it's adequately funded. Every district is different. There are over 400 of them in the state of Wisconsin, and they're all very uniquely different. So in my district that I'm running for, West Bend's problems aren't Fond du Lac's problems, and they are definitely not Kewaskum's problems. They're just economies of scale. So we need to figure out what best serves those areas the best. And if you look at my area of the state, my old district, which included Oshkosh, Fond du Lac, and the rural areas around there, same with this new area, West Bend, Fond du Lac being the biggest, but we also have northern Ozaukee County, Campbellsport, those are smaller districts. And back when these were locked in at the funding level, they were locked in at a very low level. So we need to get parity throughout the state, and we need to work towards that as well.
What about higher education? What does the future look like for you with 4-year, 2-year colleges, technical colleges?
Well, as many people know, the 2-year campuses, there's been some closures. And the 2 that are in my district, which are Washington County and Fond du Lac County, have closed. They are no longer operating as a campus. All the signage and everything is off the Fond du Lac one, and it's being repurposed for other things. What we got to remember is those are either county or local government owned, okay? So Fond du Lac County has come up with a plan. The state legislature put together a program where they can apply for up to $2 million of assistance to repurpose those properties. And I see Washington County applying for the same thing. Right now, I think there's been 3, if not 4, that have closed, with more coming down the road. And it's not a matter of finances on those campuses. Some people say we just didn't invest enough over the years. It's a matter of demographics. There weren't enough students going to those campuses. I mean, the Fond du Lac campus on a good day maybe had 100 people there. So it's not sustainable to maintain all those operations, staff, all that stuff. And UW Oshkosh is literally 25 minutes from the Fond du Lac campus. The Milwaukee campus is not too far from the Washington County campus. So when they were set up, transportation wasn't what it was today. So I grew up in New Holsting, which there was UW Manitowoc, UW Sheboygan, UW Fond du Lac, and UW Fox Valley, all within 30-minute drive. So the model was broken, if you will, and it's finally
headed in the right direction.
It's headed in the right direction now.
Workforce development. What do you see as the state's largest workforce development challenge, and how do you propose addressing it?
Workforce development is one of those areas where when I first got elected to the state senate, it was going to be one of my focuses, but it quickly shifted to economic development, or my focus was going to be economic development, quickly shifted to workforce development. If you don't have a workforce, you can't grow a company. So we've been focusing on that, and we got to make sure that we get workers to come to Wisconsin for the right reasons. That being the lower tax climate. It's going to be winter here. We can't change that. But we can put all the things in place that if you're a military person leaving military service, that Wisconsin is on the map of a place you might want to go, because we have good paying jobs, provide a good quality of life, short commute times, and we got all 4 seasons. We got to accept that, but we got to embrace it as well. You know, right now, it's fall in Wisconsin when we record this. It is beautiful time in Wisconsin. Summers in Wisconsin, you can't beat them as well.
So we'll promote winter then.
We'll promote fall and spring and live with winter.
Investments in public and energy infrastructure grow our state's economy. These investments also provide an opportunity to invest in our state's workforce, but currently there are no requirements for hiring local workers. Would you support a state resident hiring requirement for state, local, and utility scale infrastructure investments?
That'd be something I'd have to seriously look at. And on the surface, I would say no, because, you know, we have a lot of areas that we border other states. So if you're on those borders, do we want to prohibit someone from crossing borders into that other state to work as well, our residents? So I think we need to provide an environment in Wisconsin where people want to live here and be residents and take those jobs. And also the companies want to be here as well. You know, a lot of companies want to come to Wisconsin and do business, but don't want to be headquartered here. We need to become attractive where they got a base of operations here and able to do the work here as well with the Wisconsin workforce.
Employee classification is an issue in the construction industry. Some employers misclassify workers as independent contractors or pay them in cash off the books. This lowers costs by avoiding payroll taxes and unemployment insurance, and it puts compliant companies at a disadvantage when bidding on projects. Plus, misclassified workers may be denied minimum wage protections or overtime pay. Are you aware of this issue, and what do you think should be done about it?
We hear about it once in a while. It's not something I think is going on a lot out there, but I think it does go on, yes. I think there's shady actors in every line of business out there. We got to do our best to weed them out, but I think for the most part, our workforce and our construction industry does a pretty good job of building Wisconsin.
Affordable rental housing is an issue in Wisconsin. Some have proposed governmental imposed rent control to maintain affordability, while others argue keeping rent artificially low will decrease rental supply, resulting in increased prices. What is your sense of housing as an issue, and which best addresses rental housing affordability, rent control or building more rentals?
We need to get more rentals built. Right now, we're just short on units in the state of Wisconsin, whether it's rentals or that first-time home, so it can start the cycle of people moving into different homes.
Should there be incentives then from the legislature?
Well, in this last legislature, we put over $500 million into housing-related programs in 4 different avenues. One was turning commercial spaces into housing. One was the Main Street, the upstairs of Main Street businesses, turning those into a housing unit or revitalizing those. And then there was 2 other programs that are in the process as well. So I think we really need to focus on getting units built in the state of Wisconsin. Rent controls are not the answer. Housing costs are an issue throughout the nation. So it's just one of those things we need to figure out. And there are innovative ideas that are being done out there, and I think we need to really focus on looking at those to see what's working and what's not working.
Medical systems are facing numerous headwinds in the form of inflation, workforce development, and issues around Medicare and Medicaid reimbursement, resulting in fewer services and even the closure of a hospital system in western Wisconsin. What would you do to preserve access to care and prevent future closures?
First and foremost, I don't have the silver bullet to fix that. It is going to be a collaboration of working with all the people in the healthcare industry to figure out what do we need to do to prevent closures like this from happening. I think the finances of some of these bigger systems are a little tenuous right now, and I don't think we're all aware of that.
You support increasing Medicaid reimbursement?
I'd have to look at it. I'm open to it. It's one of those things you got to look at and figure out. It's very complex. It's not just as simple as increasing Medicaid payments and those problems go away. The problems exist for a multitude of reasons, which we don't have enough time in one interview to get into.
This is true.
So, I just think it's something we need to be paying attention to and really looking at what caused what happened in Eau Claire in that upper area over there. What really caused that? Was it bad system management, or was it just the medical system that we operate in this country that just isn't working, or was it just poor management of those systems?
Mental health care is also a growing concern for Wisconsinites and a concern for state and county budgets. In your district, what are you hearing on this issue, and how would you address mental health care?
We hear about mental health issues all the time. It's been that way since the first day I got elected back in 2017 when I took office. We kept hearing about mental health as a growing need, and we've kept putting more money into it, whether it be in the school system or through the counties to help with that, or the UW system, whatever it is, it's not going away. And COVID did nothing to make it easier. So one of the biggest problems we have right now is not enough people are going into the field of mental health to help treat these problems and work with these issues. So we need to figure out a way to get kids at the high school level interested in going into the fields that we need, whether that be everything from mental health to construction engineering, whatever that is. We need to expose them to that at an earlier age, but mental health is an area that's not going away anytime soon in our budget, and we're gonna see increases in it, guaranteed.
Abortion policy is something important to a lot of Wisconsinites. How should Wisconsin move forward on the issue of abortion?
Well, the one thing I just want to remind all Wisconsinites, right now in Wisconsin, it's legal to have an abortion up to 20 weeks. Mm-hmm. Most people don't even realize that's going on right now. So.
Do you support that policy?
No, I don't support a 20-week policy. I think we need to. I'm a pro-life candidate. I'm proud of that. My faith dictates that. And just my personal beliefs on that. So I think anytime we can work to less abortions, I'm going to be there to support that. But most people don't even realize that it's 20 weeks. Most people want nothing, and it's like you don't realize 20 weeks is happening right now. And when you tell them that, they're kind of shocked. So I think we need to be open to lowering that, but eventually getting down to a number that I think most Wisconsinites have a number in their head where they can be.
Do you have a number?
I don't have a number in my head of where everyone would be, but I just think we need to listen to everyone, but also we can't let it be a dividing issue. There are a lot of issues going on in the state abortion can't be the only one we talk about.
Moving on to transportation. What are the pressing transportation needs in your district, and how important is it that these needs are addressed and for the state to keep on schedule with the reconstruction of our aging interstates and significant corridors of commerce?
Transportation is huge. When I first got elected, Highway 23 connecting Fond du Lac and Sheboygan, it was something that was much needed, and now when I drive that road, it is so much nicer, so much safer. So it's not only for our economic needs, but it's for our safety. So I think we need to keep working on improving our corridors throughout the state. And when I say that, I mean our main arteries, which are our interstates or state highways going east and west. They are starting to work on the upgrade from Appleton to Green Bay, widening that. That was always a bottleneck when you got north of Appleton going to Green Bay. It was always like, slow down. And now they're going to be working on that over the next few years, next few budgets probably. And we also need to, pay attention to what our local infrastructure is at the roads that are in the towns, villages, counties, and cities. We need to look at that as well. We put more money into it in the last budget cycle. I can see us doing something like that again, along with the agricultural road improvement program, which seems to be a hit, but it needs some tweaking probably down the road, as do some of the other programs. We need to evolve with what the needs are.
Moving on to the environment, PFAS and water contaminants are a concern for a growing number of Wisconsinites. Do you see this as an important issue, and how do you propose addressing it?
PFAS was not a term I heard of 8 years ago when I ran for this job. It is amazing how fast it has grown into a very expensive issue. PFAS just doesn't go away. There are PFAS being used in all of our daily goods. Some are good, some are not. And up in the Marinette, Peshtigo area is one of the hot spots, if you will, where there's a lot of it. And what we can do to help those people deal with that, but don't make them the bad guy, okay? If it's on their land, it's not because they put it there. It's because it got there via other means. We cannot deem them to be a polluter, which is the way the Evers administration was looking to do it. So if it got on your land via an underground aquifer, river, or it was spread on your land as a farmer with the pollutants of wastewater that were okayed through a permit that you didn't know had this stuff in it years ago, it's not your fault. You are not a polluter. So we got to make sure we don't label those people as polluters.
We have the last two questions here. How would you describe the leading differences between you and your opponent?
Well, Republicans versus Democrats, I think the way we treat the economy is, money is better spent in your pocket, not the government's. Anytime we put more money in your pockets, our revenues as a state have actually went up because you're going to spend that money on something. You're going to go remodel. If we got more money in your pocket, you might remodel a room, you might build a new deck, you might go out and buy a new bicycle, whatever that is. That generates sales tax dollars. And when you're buying that new bicycle or building that deck, someone's got to make those products. And hopefully they're being made right here in the state of Wisconsin. And that way, in my district, Mercury Marine, maybe you got enough money in a couple of years to buy a boat motor or buy a boat. That helps 4,000 people working in Fond du Lac. And I just think that's the biggest difference, is that we believe more of your money should be in your pockets, not the government. Government is never the solution. I have a sign on my desk, once again, smaller, smarter government. And everything we do goes through that lens.
Final question. Let's say you're reelected and
Yes.
You have a magic wand over the state capitol and you can resolve an issue in a way that brings people together. What is that issue?
Oh boy, magic wand. Like if I were king for a day years and years ago,
Everybody gets a magic wand.
Would you set things up differently? Yeah, you'd set things up differently. If I had a magic wand, I would magically, there's a couple things I would do. I would bring more workers to the state that are qualified to work and want to work, whether that be they're leaving military service, and they'd have an affordable house to live in that was just built by a contractor here in Wisconsin and with products made in Wisconsin. That way it would stimulate all of our economy. But bringing those workers in, they need a place to live, they need a place to stay. That first time home, the second home, whatever it is, we need to work on that.
All right. Thank you, Senator Dan Feyen, who is from Fond du Lac, the Republican candidate for the 20th Senate District. The election is November 5th. Senator Feyen, thank you for talking with WisconsinEye.
Thank you for having me.
This programming is brought to you by our generous sponsors. Thank you for watching.